my channel. Today I want to give a rundown of what exactly the ketogenic diet is. The current recommendation is that we eat 50% of our macronutrients as carbohydrates, 30% as protein, and 20% as fat. So you see that the fat intake is very low in the recommendations. These recommendations are based on studies that were done in 1950s trying to link higher fat intake with cardiovascular disease. The biggest example of a research study that influenced these recommendations was Ansel Keys. He did a 7-country study. He had data on 22 countries, and he wanted to link countries that were increasing, that had higher fat diets, was there higher rates of cardiovascular disease. There was only out of the 22, 7 that fit. So he excluded all the other ones and kept those 7, which gave the impression that there was a correlation. As fat was going up in the 7 countries, there's higher cardiovascular disease. It was a flawed study. And it's actually, the correlation was as people were increasing cigarette smoking consumption in the 50s, cardiovascular disease was increasing. So there's a lot of factors. You can even see also a correlation in the study. The more a country was industrialized, the more the cardiovascular diseases were increasing. Yet this is why the recommendations, and this is what the American Heart Foundation bases their whole foundation on, is to villainize fats. Even though the present research that is coming out is indicating that cholesterol isn't causing the cardiovascular disease like we thought it was. Fat is not causing cardiovascular disease. And the recommendations are not changing because the Heart Foundation has a lot invested in these research that they basically finance. So if they come out looking stupid because all the research they've done in the past 50 years has been wrong, that's pretty much going to be a huge embarrassment for them. And they have a lot of influence. The ketogenic diet completely flips the recommendations on their head. So in the ketogenic diet, only 5% of our macronutrients are taken as carbohydrates, 25% is taken as protein, and 70% of a ketogenic diet is fats. So you will want to be really sure about the truth on fats before you start a ketogenic diet. So what exactly do we eat on a ketogenic diet? All right, so let's give a little bit of a rundown of what we don't eat. Since it's a severely restricted carbohydrate diet, we're cutting out the grains, cutting out the bread, pasta, rice, juice, colas, and any processed foods. So by cutting out all that, we're able to severely restrict our carbohydrate intake. The 5% that we are allowed to use is mainly fibrous vegetables, kale, spinach, Brussels sprouts, you name it. As long as the vegetables are low in carb and aren't starchy, then you can have ample amounts in a ketogenic diet. You have to watch out a bit with the fruits. You can have some, but fruits, especially the ones that we eat now, are genetically modified and they're made to be bigger and sweeter. So you can really quickly pile on the amount of grams of carbs that you're taking in a day by eating fruits. What I usually do is I consume berries, about a cupful, which is 10 grams. And I do that every few days when I want to, but it's not like a staple. I don't eat fruits every day, but I do eat a lot of vegetables and a lot of greens. The vitamins, the minerals that you get in fruits, you also get in vegetables. There's just as many essential minerals and vitamins in a diet that has plenty of greens and fibrous vegetables.
All right, guys, let me just get set up here. I was just playing this to give some people enough time to come online. This will be episode 1. We're going to just briefly talk for an hour. Sorry, an hour on the basics of the ketogenic diet. There'll be some question and answers. You can post those in the live chat. Just put 2 X's to make sure that I can see it. There's 2 red X's that you can do, or put some kind of emoji so I can see it, and I'll check it out. First of all, here, this was the first video that I ever did. First video I ever did, way down here. I was still learning a lot. Wasn't as aware 4 years ago when I started things in relation to oxalates, anti-nutrients, lectins. I heard myself say kale. Do not eat kale. It is a toxic plant full of oxalates and anti-nutrients. Don't do that. And I also gave the wrong impression by saying that because you're consuming a wide variety of greens and stuff like that, that you're getting all your essential nutrients, like the vitamins and stuff like that. When in reality, we know that we can attain all of the vitamins, fat soluble as well as water soluble, all with animal nutrition, with animal food. If you're adding liver, it even has vitamin C. I'm not saying that I'm against adding on a ketogenic diet side dishes of whatever vegetables you like. Please, during the weight loss period where you're trying to get adapted to using more fat, do not, sorry, just a minute. All right, we're 2 people. If you're here, just say hello. Yeah, okay, so I was talking about kale. I was talking about the vitamins. We get all the vitamins in animal food. What you can do is just, if you like side dishes of vegetables, then go ahead, no problem. The ketogenic diet allows pretty much all the vegetables, except for starchy ones, because starches, it's sugar, it's glucose basically, and it's just too much. So you really can't say that you're doing a ketogenic diet if you're adding a large amount of glucose in there's simple sugars, there's simple carbs, there is complex, there's starches. I mean, there's a lot of categories. No need to get into details about that. So, hey Darla, what's up? If you don't mind, maybe we can wait for a few minutes to see if anybody else is going to come online. I'm going to try and do, I think on Mondays regularly, maybe around 8 o'clock for 1 hour every week. These will be episodes strictly based on the ketogenic diet. I will be talking about how over 5 years, I've evolved and adapted and changed my views on certain things that I thought differently, perhaps in the older videos. But the older videos are very good. The one that I just showed you, I think it was the second video I ever made. So if you go onto my channel, go to videos, scroll down to the very bottom, I have maybe 90 videos. Check out the one that I just played at the start. It's a nice introduction, has some, nice editing where I'm, all the food that I'm talking about, there's nice pictures. I made a lot of effort back then. I will wait a little bit more. We're already 10 minutes in. Perfect. I need ketovore brush up. Perfect. I guess we'll get started because we want to keep this to exactly 1 hour from 8 to 9. So perhaps I'll start the presentation immediately so that we don't run into, going at 1 hour and I haven't said enough. So I'm going to be doing each one of these presentations, there will be each one of these episodes, there will be a presentation, very small amount. And then after, we're going to continue each episode with a brief presentation. And then after, we can have questions and answer periods. Okay, so let's get started with the presentation, guys. Share screen. Just sorry, give me a second, guys. Windows, because they adapted entire screen. They changed basically the layout. So now it's extremely difficult to concentrate and figure out how to pop things up. Hopefully this is good. All right. Just let me know in the chat if you're going to see this presentation okay. Grab my phone. Darla, could you tell me if you see the PowerPoint presentation at the moment? I'm just going to log on to YouTube at the moment here, because then I can at least see the screen and know if things are not going the way they should go. All right, cool. See it and you. Perfect. All right, so we're going to look at nutritional ketosis. This is going to be basically the basics of a ketogenic diet. So first of all, we've been told that carbohydrates, which is glucose in a way, just if this is like new, like carbohydrates, macronutrients, proteins, fats, glucose, sugar, a lot of these things, some people are not even aware of what this is exactly. So we'll get through that. We'll learn about the macronutrients, and as well, there's going to be, in a way, a lot of repetition as we go. So as we go to newer topics, we do kind of return to older topics. And through the episodes, what I'm hoping is that you guys not only like follow a ketogenic diet by counting things, but that you truly understand the biology, the physiology of nutrition. Okay, so that you understand things like the macronutrients, you understand insulin, you understand glucose, you understand how, what you don't need to know a wide variety, but primarily, glucose, we're going to learn about insulin, we're going to learn about carbohydrates, glucose, we're going to learn about insulin resistance, we're going to learn about a lot of stuff. So we've been told, that carbohydrates in a way are almost essential. Technically, they're not essential because we can produce carbohydrates through a process known as gluconeogenesis, where protein is turned into glucose. So glucose, neogenesis, okay, the production of new glucose. So because, this has been going on since the 1950s, where they drastically reduced the fats, therefore increasing the carbohydrates. So I was born into the idea that carbs are essential because they're their energy source, and that fat will make you fat in a way. That's pretty much what I thought too, and that's pretty much what we've been told. But there is an alternate fuel source, and this fuel source is fat, which can produce ketone bodies, which are more efficient. By saying more efficient, we will get there eventually, what I mean by more efficient. But put that debate aside, we will look, and I just want you to understand that we can use carbohydrates, glucose, as energy, and that's the only purpose for that macronutrient. There's nothing else that it could do. But fat and protein are the other macronutrients. And fat, the fat that you eat in your diet, as well as the fat that you have on your hips, on your big butt, that fat too. We know that. It's like, but we just don't think about it, meaning, oh yeah, fat is made to be there so that when you don't have calories, fat can supply. And then after you wonder, well, why is it every 3 to 5 hours I feel intensely uncomfortable and starving? I feel like I'm going to starve to death. It's only been 3 to 5 hours. Why is it every time I just stop shoving stuff in my face that after 5 hours I am not able to tap into my fat because I'm so uncomfortable and my body's screaming for carbs? So that there's something off here. There's something that we're doing, and it's being told to us that is really like not natural. And it just makes so much sense as you go through the episodes. You're going to say, oh God, that makes sense. Well, that didn't make sense that they told that. That's at least my hope. I don't want to throw fish at you. I want to teach you to fish, because there's no one size fits all. People have various ages and our ability to use macronutrients. Proteins go down, carbohydrates, there's an alteration. We will get fatter with carbohydrates as we age. Insulin, there's a wide variety. There's activity level, there's there's sports, like are you doing competitive sports? Are you just doing weight loss? And that's the whole point. If you continue watching these episodes, what I'm hoping is that you will progress to truly understanding and being able to manipulate your diet. Because what I'm saying here is, for most people, a ketogenic diet, I push heavily for weight loss. If you do not need to lose weight, and you want to do a ketogenic diet, sure. But the majority of what I'm pushing is a ketogenic diet for weight loss. If you successfully lose weight with 1 year of strict ketosis, if you feel great, you like it, continue, no problem. But if you still feel that, yeah, it worked, I got my goal, but I still find it restrictive, then there's no problem. You can start adding carbohydrates. And this is a point where I suggest that you maybe measure the grams, and you add 10 grams and you see how your body reacts. You add 20, you add, and you kind of get a gauge with, and do that within a week or two. So obviously your activity level will fluctuate within those 14 days, but an overall average activity, if you're doing what you're usually doing, you'll get a good idea of how the increase in carbohydrates is affecting you. And then once you look and you're like, oh, I've been pretty sedentary, and it seems like when I'm sedentary, this many, 40 is okay, but 50, I'm starting to put on weight. Okay, well then at 40, I can get away with that even if I'm sedentary. You start exercising. Obviously, if you want to go hardcore every day or the next day, even though glucose itself is not required for muscle synthesis, however, glycogen for that burst of energy when you're doing high intensity activities, right? So people like that could do a carbohydrate meal right after the exercise, and then that carbohydrate will go and replenish muscle glycogen, meaning the glucose stored in muscle. That'll make it hold a little bit more water, make your muscles look a little bit more full, and obviously that water weight will put on weight, right? But it's not fat. That's why athletes with large amount of muscle, they can lose 20 pounds in a day. They can go on the ice, a professional hockey player, and be 20 pounds less at the end of that, like whatever long, I don't watch hockey, an hour or two. So that's impressive. And somebody with a lot less muscle, will tend to fill up the reservoirs of glucose and then consume a little too much glucose. And what does that glucose do? There's no need for that energy, and then it gets stored as fat. So athletes, higher muscle mass, can tolerate a lot more glucose, right? Okay. So ketones, ketogenic diet, right? Ketones are made when the body metabolizes or breaks down adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is just a fancy way of saying the fat on your body. And ketones are also made when you consume fats. While you're restricting the carbohydrates, you're also going to be able to consume that fat, and it will use it as well. It'll go to the liver, the fatty acids. You'll have, the fatty acids go to the liver creates ketones. The ketones can fuel the body. There is, after we get through the basics, of very good research about all sorts of neurological issues, from epilepsy to depression to anxiety to mood disorders that benefit with ketones. There's also marines that induce ketosis with exogenous ketones, meaning they drink ketones, because ketones makes the threshold, okay, higher. Wait, am I getting that mixed up? Basically, if you're having seizures, if you're using ketones, there's less chance of having seizures. And these marines, when they're underwater deep and they're breathing high concentrations of oxygen, increases the chance of them having a seizure while they're doing their job deep underwater. So what they do is they actually induce ketosis for these marines. So there's really interesting research on Alzheimer's. They're prescribing Exona, which is basic exogenous ketones, just like the Marines drink. Get that in any supplement store. Ketone. You can get ketones. You can get medium chain triglycerides. MCT produces ketones. But they sell this nutritional prescription Exona to make money on the. It's like, oh wow, Alzheimer people and dementia people have better cognition when there's ketones available to fuel their brain. So what do? They make money and they prescribe this Exona instead of saying, well, you could give this demented person a ketogenic diet that may give them a better quality of life and a reduction. I have evidence. I really believe that if I had Alzheimer's or dementia, I would fast extremely long periods of time. And when I would eat, I would maintain nutritional ketosis. This way, I mimic fasting and I encourage the body to activate something called autophagy. And autophagy, what it is that it's a self-cleaning mechanism that occurs. And there are glycated beta amyloids in the brain. There's also an aspect of insulin resistance in the brain with Alzheimer's. So I think that these beta amyloids, possibly with prolonged fasting, could have a autophagic reaction, meaning that the autophagy would eat those proteins because it's looking for nutrients. That's what it does during fastings and stuff like that. And because you have low glucose and low insulin, you'll reverse possibly the brain insulin that's occurring there. I think that the epidemic of dementia and Alzheimer's is when we started adapting a much higher carbohydrate diet. And it just makes sense because part of Alzheimer's is glycated beta amyloids. Beta amyloid is protein, let's say, and glycated is glycation. Glucose is basically when a molecule, something in your body becomes sticky with glucose, like a glycation. It's a lot more simpler than, it's a lot more complex than that, but simple way of thinking about it. So the ketones that your body produces is called beta hydroxybutyrate and acetoacetate. So you can measure your beta hydroxybutyrate with blood, similar to taking blood sugar, same thing. And you can measure your beta hydroxybutyrate. There's also acetoacetate. So you can measure the BHB, the beta hydroxybutyrate in the blood, and you can measure with strips the acetoacetate that will show up in the urine. And acetone, we could consider it a ketone, but in reality, it is a byproduct of acetoacetate, and that actually can be measured in your breath with a breathalyzer. It also, people say that ketones do tend to rise if you're following a ketogenic diet, you're just starting. Ketones tend to be a lot higher in those initial weeks, and we'll go, when we talk about keto adaptation, explain why. But high amounts of ketones being produced and byproducts of the usage of acetoacetate creates acetone, and that can technically give you a alcoholic-y, fruity, like it's very distinct. If you work at a hospital, you can smell somebody in ketoacidosis. Now we're going to talk briefly about ketoacidosis. A lot of people, especially medical people, they don't understand the ketogenic diet. They're not taught anything about nutrition. In fact, laboratories freak out when your beta hydroxybutyrate is elevated, and then they're confused because they're used to seeing an elevated beta hydroxybutyrate when there's a super high glucose, which they call ketoacidosis, that we can get in diabetics. So they're all confused. They're like, I've never seen high ketones with a normal glucose. So often they've canceled my labs because they thought it was an error, because it just doesn't make sense. Imagine. Oh, yeah, before I forget, in case you're just watching this and then you're going to stop. If you're on any medications, okay, especially medications for diabetes, insulin resistance, people with these issues that are getting especially insulin injected. So insulin, when you inject it, when you have type 2 diabetes, you're consuming a certain amount of grams, and you're used to you're used to injecting pretty much, your average doses, units of insulin. But when you drastically reduce this, you really got to watch out, because you will drastically require a lot less insulin. So please advise your physician. And that's why it's very important that you don't just blindly follow this, that you get educated. And this is, like I said, this is what these episodes are for, to build, to repeat, and to really start understanding in detail, so that we can adapt our diet, understanding exactly what we're doing, why we're eating something, the effects. There's no more confusion. So talk to your doctor, especially if you have any diabetes or insulin-resistant medications, please. I do advise, do not ever let a doctor discourage you from trying this. This is why you have to be educated and prepared. They will be extremely biased. They have not learned this. They are under the paradigm of fat and cholesterol from your diet will give you heart disease, and that you should consume a wide variety of grains and carbohydrates. They are completely brainwashed and biased towards the lie that has been making us sick for almost a century now. So in a normal carbohydrate diet, you're going to have, usually ketones 0.4, probably 0. I should have put 0 to 0.4. Anyways, all that to say is, with a normal carb diet, you're not going to be using ketones, because anytime glucose is present, is digested, enters the bloodstream, glucose will always be used first. Okay, so that's why there's no need for ketone production if you keep on supplying glucose. But during prolonged fasting, you are consuming no glucose. Therefore, your body must rely on what I mentioned before, gluconeogenesis, using proteins to create glucose to maintain a normal glucose level so you don't get hypoglycemia, right? But over the days, your ketone levels will rise higher and higher. At the average of 7, which is quite high, it's still nowhere near anything that you would consider diabetic ketoacidosis. During these prolonged fast, you'll have ketones as high as 7. People often say, because they look at the thing here, ketoacidosis, and they assume that ketones are very, very acidic, and that at high level here at 7, that you'll actually alter the pH balance of your blood, which is a crock of poop. That's not true. Okay, so this is what occurs in prolonged fasting. You are entered into deep ketosis. You have increased growth hormone as a signal to not catabolize and eat your muscle protein or anything like that. Yes, if you are in a starvation mode, meaning you've gone well beyond your fat storage, okay, your reserve, you've gone well beyond that, and now you're relying only on fat adipose tissue, but now there's no more. So now, look, you have no more glucose. The only way you produce glucose is by converting it from protein, but you're not eating any protein either. Therefore, where are you getting the protein to create the sugar? Muscle, organs, not good. So prolonged fasting, to a certain extent, there's a time and a place to stop, and prolonged fasting, depending on your reserves as well as your nutrient levels even before the fast, it can vary tremendously. Now, people will often talk about ketoacidosis. This is actually the medical community. Somebody like a nurse or something will hear the ketogenic diet and say, yeah, but it can cause ketoacidosis. So in diabetic ketoacidosis, the ketone levels are 15 to 25, and glucose, these are the American numerics for this, but glucose is pretty much doubled, and ketones are 25-fold of what we usually would see. Now, because the body is unable to open up the cells for glucose, the body, the cellular system, the cellular respiration is dying, it's starving, and now your body is producing ketones as an effort to nourish the cells, as well as there's alternate energy pathways. So your body's going to try and be making energy through alternative pathways like the lactic acid pathway. The lactic acid production in a diabetic ketoacidosis. Anyways, so you have the high glucose. You have the very, very high ketones. You have lactic acid production, making your pH very acidic in your blood. And then after, you'll have diabetes insipidus, causing a lot of urine production, frequent urine production, like a diuretic effect, which then further dehydrates you. And then after that, just concentrates the acidity as well. And there's a lot other stuff going on, and it can be fatal. So no, the ketogenic diet has nothing to do with with diabetic ketoacidosis. There are some other reasons, even like alcohol toxicity in a non-diabetic can create diabetic ketoacidosis. There's other reasons, but primarily diabetes. Ketosis then is a state of having elevated ketone levels, usually above 0.5 millimoles per liter. Fat metabolism occurs, okay, when carbohydrates are restricted. So it's really not a complicated concept. It's avoid carbohydrates if you're fat, because you don't need energy when you have a large amount, crazy amount of stored fat. How are you ever going to encourage your body to go through these fat reserves if you're constantly functioning with glucose? Right? So, and it's pretty simple. You don't have to count calories. All you have to know is what's a carbohydrate, and limit it drastically, and eat animal food and side dishes of vegetables if you want. So what I advocate for is a animal-based, so not a plant-based, but an animal-based, higher fat, low carb diet. I don't like it when we say high fat, because high fat, it's considered high fat, but it used to be that level a normal fat. You see what happened, right? We were eating a certain amount of fat, and then we went low fat, right? So then everyone thinks this is norm. So if we even go slightly halfway, that's considered a high fat. No, it's the appropriate amount of fat. So you guys went from normal to low fat. So we're not going high fat. We're just going back to the normal fat. And we are certainly not trying to mix fats and carbohydrates together in large amounts, because that is what junk food is. You're supplying two kinds of energy sources. Any additional fat that is not being used for energy will be stored as fat, because if the glucose surpass the energy requirements, and that, yeah, come on in, will surpass the energy requirements, and that as well will be stored as fat. What's up, dude? Oh, love you. Yeah, bye. Be good. As well, while we're on this topic, so 1.5, maybe 2.5 that I saw during the adaptive first few weeks. What I did notice after the body adapted to running primarily on fat burning, on fat metabolism, the body became more and more adapted and calibrated and geared towards being more and more efficient with using fat. Okay, so that occurs, and that's why you have higher ketone levels during the adaptive period, because it's building up, but it's also kind of backing up a bit, because the body's like slower to use it. But weeks, months, years, what's happening is that you're extremely fat adapted, and you have become more and more adapted and efficient to use that. And once you're adapted, then it is good, because you have a certain amount, in a way, of metabolic flexibility, where you're frequently in ketosis, and you are occasionally eating carbohydrates. It'd be so easy to attain. It wouldn't be so abundant. I think I say that I was in keto. I did the diet strict for 4 years. There were times I'm berries, or there's nothing that is unsafe to my knowledge, and there's no one that can say that this is somehow detrimental, because to say that, you have to say, okay, so what you're saying is, if I stay in this for a couple of years, that is harmful. But if I spent the last 40 years doing the opposite non-essential pathway, there was no problem with that. I don't think so. I think so. But I think that making your body guess, what I often do will eat local berries and the vegetation that is local and seasonal, and do that. And then in the winter months, I can be more in ketosis. I tend to hover eating ketogenically because I'm very sedentary. And even with 5 years of being extremely sedentary, which I'm trying to get back into it, I had a surgery and it just wasn't able to do anything without my spine acting up. Anyways, so diet-induced ketosis, in a way, this is a fast mimicking diet. When you're not eating, you are also carb restricting. You are also going to switch to fat metabolism. So when you're doing a ketogenic diet, it has a very similar metabolic profile than fasting. So we have higher fat, low carb diet. That's what I would call a higher fat, higher than the low fat, and a low carb diet. And this is not plant-based. This is animal-based. And we want to support local farmers as much as possible to go after grass-fed ruminant animals, things like this. It's important to affect change with your wallet. JD said this from Garland Farms channel very often. You know, people are like, yeah, but it's too expensive. And I'm guilty of saying that as well. But it's like, no, you can get 3 people, you can 5, you can get 8 people, whatever the amount. You go and find a local farmer, as well as there are where in your area get this, and you can all bind together and purchase that, and you're encouraging the farmers, and you're helping to support them. It's more ethical. It's actually building soil. It's sequestering carbon. It's more nutritious, and it doesn't support big business. So we have to realize, guys, that fats are essential, right? We have the omega-6, we have the omega-3s. This has to be in proper balance. We have the protein. This as well is essential, meaning that we require high quality, easily bioavailable and digestible animal proteins with very, very abundant or extremely sufficient amounts of those essential amino acids that are so lacking and almost completely devoid in the plant kingdom. Understanding that carbohydrates, glucose, is non-essential. Okay, it's not essential. It is strictly a fuel, and fat that it is essential as a building block of hormones, of linings of cells, of the composition of the brain, but it's also an energy. And at best, you should be using fat as the energy, and carbohydrates should be used strategically. You're an active person working in construction, use carbohydrates. Fast most of the day while you're active. Then after your activity, then after this fasted period, during your activity as well, then you beast it. Then you eat the fat, the protein, and you can add carbohydrates, because your glycogen that we talked about before, the muscle storage capacity where we store the glucose, is likely empty. So the glucose at that point will spike insulin. Insulin is not toxic. Insulin, we would die without it. But the problem is the way we are eating is just creating a excessive and constant excretion into the bloodstream of insulin. And because of this, the cells are bathed in this signaling insulin that's saying, open up, open up, open up. And they stop opening up. And that is what we call insulin resistance. So more insulin, stronger signals, eventually it's not going to open up at all. And then after, they're going to start injecting insulin into you. But your disease is resistance to insulin because of high and constant insulin. So you're going, and it's killing me, supposedly. So what you're going to do is you're going to start injecting me with even more insulin. Won't that, I don't know, worsen the insulin resistance? Like an alcoholic that's always drinking, becoming more and more resistant to the constant and elevated supply of alcohol, creating a becoming desensitized, becoming resistant to alcohol's effect. And this can apply to pretty much all hormones. There's hormones like ghrelin. It's a hunger hormone. I forgot what the other one is. The other one's one of them is ghrelin. And you can also develop resistance when you're getting, especially sick metabolically, resistance to even signals telling you about hunger and things like that. So a ketogenic diet is one in which glucogenic substrates are low enough to switch body metabolism into fat burning mode. I meant mode, it says made. As I mentioned, this has to be individualized. We must individualize and understand the purpose of the macros, and understand that if we are changing our activity level, we can benefit by changing, at that point, our macronutrients. Sorry. Glucogenic substrates is just another way of saying glucose, right? So you have something glucogenic has a insulin response in a way. There are even certain amino acids that are more glucogenic, meaning, remember that gluconeogenesis, the ability to create glucose to maintain a blood level with protein. That's why, because proteins have glucogenic substrates. All right. So it's a fancy word of me trying to sound smart to impress you that a ketogenic diet is a very low glycemic, low glucose, low carbohydrate diet, which allows your body to switch quite naturally to fat burning mode. So guys, just remember that glycogen is glucose with water. Okay, and this is how glucose is stored. It's stored with water. Okay, and that's why somebody might be doing it. If you do a ketogenic diet and you have like a decent carb meal, like 200-300 grams, my goodness, you could put on 10 pounds. I tend to put on about 5 pounds. So I've been in ketosis. I know, I've been strict. One carbohydrate meal, 5 pounds. Takes 3 days to return, about 2 to 3 days with my sedentary lifestyle to get back into proper ketosis and then return to fat burning mode. So the liver and the muscles store glycogen. Okay, so that's the liver and muscles store glucose as glycogen. Carbohydrates, glucose, primarily triggers for insulin. However, like I just mentioned, protein as well can have an insulin response, but it's not as comparable. Insulin opens the cell. Remember, it's a signal, open up, I want to feed you. Now, it opens up to receive energy, glucose from the blood. Okay, it does more than that, but in relation to the ketogenic diet, we're focusing on energy. So the cell opens up and receives glucose as energy when insulin is secreted. It's important to know that when you do that, insulin enters the bloodstream. It's something that is storing energy inside cells and storing fat. So if you're in a process where insulin's flowing through you, you are not anywhere able to go into fat burning mode, because you have to switch from an anabolic, a building metabolic state, to a breaking down state, catabolic. So we're getting towards the end. Hopefully there are some questions, guys. People can come on, talk directly about the ketogenic diet with me. We're going to stick to that topic. I'm going to be more and more disciplined now. We have about 12 minutes for question and answer. So fat doesn't make you fat, guys. And animal fats do not cause disease. They do not cause cardiovascular disease. What does cause and attributes cardiovascular disease is seed oils, aka vegetable oils, such as canola, rapeseed, sunflower, soybean oil. You can get all fancy with grapeseed oil. Doesn't matter. These are seed oils derived from a industrialized extraction method using heat and pressure, industrialized solvents to extract the fats out, then deodorizing, processing to clear it up, proper consistency, clarity, so that it doesn't stink. All of these things. This is the kind of fat, the man-made fats in a bottle. That's what's killing us. So in the 1950s and 1980s, everything started with Ansel Keys. Watch my video, my first video I made 4 years ago, down in the archive videos. 1950, Ansel Keys, using a epidemiological or associative study, something, just a questionnaire basically, and looking at statistics, comparing fat consumption with cardiovascular disease. And I think there's 22 studies that were countries that were studied, and he chose 7. There's also the fat that the people from France consume. They're very high in fat compared to many countries, but they have actually a low amount of cardiovascular disease. So that especially that France, they were really stuck out. That was like a problem for Ansel Keys and his agenda to demonize fat, to push carbohydrates. So anyways, yeah. So anyways, what I was saying is France would have really showed that this is not a linear association between fat and cardiovascular disease. Cherry picked 7 studies, happened in the 50s. This was, in my opinion, because of the 1930s and the development of these seed oils and a marketing and greedy economic agenda to remove the animal fats and to push the seed oils, which are made from cheap subsidized seeds, right? And then after, in the 1950s, they demonized fat and cholesterol from animal food. And that continued for another 30 years with the 1980s explosion of low-fat labels. Guidelines were low-fat, very, very strategic marketing, and a demonization specifically of animal fats. The decreased fat in the foods, that pretty much was the normal amount, a lot higher than what we're being told to eat. So when they started doing the low fat, they decreased the fat. Well, you know what? You can't just decrease and leave it at that. They had to increase the carbohydrates. And these carbohydrates came from all sorts of plant-derived sugars, sugar cane, high fructose corn syrup, wheat, soy, gluten, all of these dirt cheap grains and subsidized things like that were put into the food. Removal of butter, removal of lard, put in margarine, right? Removal of lard, put in Crisco, which is hydrogenated, further processed seed oils to make them solid. Extremely toxic. The problem is that it doesn't kill you overnight. So we could even say extremely deadly in small doses over long periods of time, which is basically what all people have at the very best is a low supply, but that's still quite constant, unless you're literally doing what I want to do. We're getting the chickens, 24 chickens, and next year maybe we'll try a ruminant animal. I don't know what's easier, a cow, a goat. I'll talk to JD, see what he thinks. So the decreased fat made higher increased carbohydrates. The switch that they did here did not do anything for the continuing increase in cardiovascular disease, but when they did do this little switcheroo, then after, not only did you have the rest of these diseases that we call modern diseases, then you had obesity rates. So the obesity rates and the heart attacks were starting, but people weren't fat yet. No one acknowledged that cigarette smoke, the marketing for cigarette smoking was at its peak in the 30s and on. It took a long time before cigarettes became demonized. When we look at Klein and Associates published 1992, carbohydrate restriction regulates the adaptive response to fasting. This was published in the American Journal of Physiology, Endocrinology, and Metabolism. So the first thing they did is infused fat into the bloodstream alone. When they did that, the fat that was being, just fat being infused into the bloodstream, used that as fuel. There was zero indicators of anything that would trigger fat production, fat storage, or obesity, meaning it did not create high glucose in the blood. It didn't create high insulin in the blood. Then they infused fat and carbohydrates together. So the fat was not used as fuel. The fat and the glucose, both utilization for energy utilization were impaired, both fat and glucose. And the conclusion that fat by itself doesn't make you fat. Instead, it's carbohydrates and fats combined, which are bad. That's why you'll have vegans that are running on sugar, on a high carbohydrate diet. And they're eliminating fat like it's poison. And some of these people just become extremely frail and emaciated. They don't get fat. First of all, it's hard while they're getting a lot of glucose. The calories, the ability to get literally just total calories is a lot harder, especially if you're doing, raw food, plant-based, even more restrictive and extreme versions of veganism. So when we start this diet, there is something that I want to talk about. There is an adapted period we'll call keto adaptation. You can Google that, or you can Google fat adaptation, or you can Google keto flu. The majority of people have been eating high carb all their life. So there is a period where your body adjusts to primarily using fat instead of those carbs. The adaptation can still be occurring even, there's studies that show that it is even occurring after one year. But for the majority of people, some that were already like not always like consuming tons of carbs, they might not have no adaptation symptoms. Some it might last a couple of days, a week, on average 1 to 2 weeks, some people up to a month. One of the common symptoms will be things like dizziness, especially from going sitting to standing. Muscle cramps, we call Charlie horses, right? So we can also have alterations in our digestive habits, meaning you can get anywhere from, sorry, the vulgarity, the shits, or constipation. So the way to fix or the way to minimize these keto adaptation symptoms is use salt in your diet. I'm not going to go into how the body uses salt differently when we're comparing low carb to higher carb. Just know, don't go crazy, but do not avoid salt. Add a little bit of salt, especially when you're doing this. You actually are going to be peeing away more often. It's like a diuretic effect. You need the salt. And in ketosis, you eliminate salt faster. And when you're doing the high carb, you tend to retain. This has to do with how the kidney responds to these changes. Cramps, you can take magnesium. I used to take magnesium sulfate, and to help you, deal with the shits. Never trust a keto fart. So no farts in public is the best I can say. Constipation or diarrhea can occur in anybody doing a drastic change to their diet, and that usually will reside itself. If you are going to the bathroom and you can literally see oil floating in your poop, you're eating too much fat. But the way we're going to set up, we're not doing high fat, we're just doing higher fat. What I would consider was prior normal fat. You can also get, headaches, brain fog. This is, for a lot of people at this early part in your journey, experiencing brain fog gives you a glimpse into how vegans feel all the time. So that can be a very eye-opening and educational part, and a little extra, fatigue, nausea, you can get diarrhea or constipation, difficulty sleeping. When you enter ketosis, what's occurring, guys, is imagine you have no food. So you're not getting carbs, protein, or fat. Your body's switching to fat metabolism to get calories. The protein, we're using protein for gluconeogenesis. And what's happening as well is that if we had no food and we had to go find food, go hunt, to exert ourselves. If we got brain dead, cloudy, weak, lethargic, we would have died as a species. In fact, when you're in a fasted period because you can't find any food, your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight, your adrenaline system supplies that energy, uses the sympathetic nervous system to heighten your awareness and your cognition, so that you're in peak cognitive and peak energy to go hunt. That proves that these people were fat adapted, were in ketosis a lot more often than I think possibly a majority of the time would be in ketosis. So remember, I said it's a fast mimicking diet. So that's why if you're in ketosis, especially when you're adapting and the ketones are getting to 1.5, 2, sometimes 2.5, your body is kind of acting as if it's in a fasted period, and it usually will increase the sympathetic nervous system for that increased cognition. That'll translate into sometimes being like really amped and really awake and speedy and having trouble with sleep. Many people, when they talk about doing, prolonged fast, I usually, I did just recently a 48-hour just off the cuff. And I want to do, and I've done before, a 5-day fast. That is really, it helps for weight loss, but it is more for health benefit, that cleansing, that autophagy that I mentioned. So yeah, you're going to feel foggy, slowed down cognition, fatigued. You could have some nausea, diarrhea, constipation. So it's a big adjustment for some people, what they're introducing in their meals. Like I said, some people have no symptoms, and some people have a week or two, more a week than two, and then some can have issues up to a month. The dizziness was an issue for me up to a month. All right, guys. So that's the end of the presentation. We've got 5 people here. We're going to go to the comments. Wow. All right, a lot of people. We're past 9, so maybe we'll stretch this to an hour and a half, but we're definitely not doing a marathon tonight, guys. And we are going to be sticking to the topic. Every Monday will be episodes on the ketogenic diet, and so some of them will be 1 hour of pure question and answers, depending on how many people are letting me know that they're actually doing this. So people not interested in the ketogenic diet or nutrition specifically for weight loss, don't come on Mondays, because it's going to be sticking to keto. So Darla is here. Bruce, my brother, he says, hi, Jason. Love you, brother. Love you, Bruce. Looks like it was just Bruce and Darla. I know Bruce, my brother, is man. He did a tremendous, crazy amount of fasting. He had really lost a lot of weight. We were talking about that just recently. I told him, yeah, I think that I know. I said, Frank, you really lost a lot of weight, but I said the way what I find happened was he lost a lot of muscle, because he was heavy, but he had like a lot of people actually have a lot of muscle underneath. When I went keto, it looked like I was like starting to weight train. No, it was just I had muscle under the fat, and as you thin out the fat under your skin, things look more jacked, more toned. Great, just finished a 3-day fast for the first time. Lost loads of weight. Awesome, dude. Bruce, I'm really glad. Awesome. Proud of you. You're always welcome to come onto the channel on Mondays as well, and I'm sure we'd love to hear your experience. I loved a 5-day fast. I found that the first time I tried to do it, I think I only lasted 3 days, but I find it's like you don't have to go extreme, but a lot of people get used to time restricted feeding or intermittent fasting, 16 hours fasting, 8 hours to eat their meal, squish them together, creates low insulin levels. And just that, even if you're almost eating the same thing that you were eating, but you're squishing it in a smaller period of time, that 16 hours of fasting really still, points to your fat storage. So it's great. Yeah, Darla, Bruce, the last time I spoke with him, he's like getting into the diet and fasting. So the only thing that I told Bruce was, because I think once in a while he would take sugar. He didn't fast like non-stop here or there. He would, I might be wrong. Sorry if I'm wrong, Bruce. Seems to me he told me once in a while he'd take like sugar or something like that, very small. And I told him, look, do exactly what you did last time, but eat more fat and protein when you do eat, because the fat and protein is not going to make you fat. It will not. And it will not disturb anything, but it is a replenishment because fasting is like a bell curve, right? So you fast, benefits start occurring, fast, and it's different for everybody else. But eventually, you're fasting, and you're actually not getting much additional benefits. And then if you overdo it, you start going down on the benefits, and bad things start to happen. So to maintain your muscle while you continue this fasting, what I would suggest is 3-day fast, right? Let's say 2-day refeeding, eating what you're made of. You don't need fuel. So eat what you're made of, protein and fat, eggs, cheese, whatever. And then after, return for another day fast. Well, then eat for 2 days. Then do a 3-day fast. Okay, eat for 1 day, and just keep on mixing it up. But do some refeeding of protein and fat just to minimize the muscle loss that goes along with all that weight loss, because you don't want to be losing muscle, and if that occurs, it's really because you've been way too motivated, just gone a little too far. So do have refeedings, 3 days, a 7-day. There's something called refeeding syndrome. It can kill you. This doesn't really occur even 5-7-day fast, but 2-day fast, I can eat exactly the amount, the load, the amount. But 5-day fast, take it slow. Have a little bit of food, because your stomach's going to have shrunken like that. You overeat, it's going to be extremely uncomfortable. Been there, done that. Yeah, Bruce felt great. Listening in. All right, man. Yep. Every Monday we'll be on the ketogenic diet. We'll talk a little bit along the way of fasting and intermittent fasting. It usually comes naturally, because there's 2 ways. Your appetite goes down when you're doing a ketogenic diet. Yes, this, because your appetite's lower, this does lower your calories. So there is an aspect that's like, oh, you're just cutting calories. Yes, just to a certain extent, not necessarily, but usually with the decrease in appetite. But the other difference, where it's, in my opinion, superior, is that it's not only causing weight loss with calories. What it's doing is it's doing that, but it's also putting you in a hormone profile. It's setting up the hormones in your blood to have very, very low glucose and very, very no insulin. And that, again, pushes your body to use fat. All right. What up, Bruce? Shared Jason's link. Thanks, man. I will do that all of my life, fasting now, never going back. Well, it good. Because fasting, it is not only going to be for weight loss. It's going to be for healing. Your eye problem, Bruce, that you chronically have, I pay attention to that. And I know that you can fast the crap out of yourself. I want to see if your eye problem improves. That would be freaking cool. Let's do an anecdotal experiment with Bruce, because I know now that he's started, he's like me. It takes time for us to get going. Once we do, we are extreme and we are focused. Just that inertia takes a while to get it going, but then something clicks. That's it. So let's see if Bruce, because he's applying a lot of fasting, let's see if his eye condition improves just naturally. I like that, Jason. Fasting tricks to stump your body. Yeah. The only ketones I use are on my instruments. That's funny. I like that one. The only ketones. Hey, very, very clever. You should be a dietitian. No, if I was a dietitian, then I would be pushing a high carb, low fat diet with plenty of seed oils. That's what I would be saying if I was university trained in nutrition. Sure, I spelled that wrong. No, dietitian. My ex was Celine, so I was always insulin. That's Celine, insulin. My ex was Celine. Oh man, like, wow, you're sharp, dude. Insulin. Hi all, what up, Jane's journey? Right. Beat Diabetes channel, excellent help. Glucometer is key. Yeah, Jane, I enjoyed measuring my ketones. It was fun at the start, but it's not necessary. But it's fun. Yeah, it's very it's very addictive. You're like, oh, how much is my ketones now? But what I noticed was, it's like the idea was the more ketones, the better it is. Like some magic will happen. But what happens is once you're more and more adapted to using the ketones, they go. I was hovering around 0.4, so people are going like, "Oh, it's on you. You've been doing that for years." Yeah, you know what? You guys hover around 0.4 when you wake up. If you ate, around 6, and you get up around 12 hours later, you probably have a few, 0.2, 0.3, up to 0.4 ketones. That's why 0.4 is considered the norm. Awesome, man. I am past my reserve. I lose 3/4 of a pound of fat storage every day fasting now. Yep. I know, no, it's crazy. Yeah, in 3 days, almost 4 pounds. That's it. Please let us know the total amount of pounds. You don't have to tell us how much you weighed, but like so far, how many pounds have you dropped? And I want to know, did you lose like almost 5 pounds right away, 5 to 8 pounds with that 3-day fast? Because I think I lost 9 pounds with a 3-day fast, or yeah, 3, 5. I'm not sure which one that was. And then it was a 3-day fast, 9 pounds. But then after 3 days, when I refed myself, I had lost actually three true pounds, because then I ate and I put on the weight back on, but I did lose in 3 days 1 pound of pure fat, not water. There's also something, but you can't be too extreme with this, Bruce. There's a thing that you could do. It's called a dry fast. Now, you don't do this on a hot day. You don't do this when you're exerting yourself. This has to be a complete fast. And what will happen is that the your body, well, first of all, you're going to be burning fat. There's water inside those fat cells. You're going to be eliminating fat. There's something that your body, to a certain extent, can create. It's called biological water. We're not going to get into the mechanism of that. It's something we can do. We cannot go on tangents like I usually do. But this thing that I was mentioning, autophagy, this healing mechanism, everybody please look this up. Autophagy. Autophagy, AUTO, right? PHA, phagy, AGY. Yeah, you'll be getting the autophagy effects, and I'm telling you, this is what happens when you stop giving your body all the stuff that it needs, and you stop that because you just gave the body what it needed, and then you allow the body to assimilate and process and heal and use that and think for itself. Think of it this way: having multiple meals all throughout the day, guys, right? Having multiple meals is kind of like having a business where you have workers, and instead of having the delivery every after, like at 12 every day, in the morning every day, whatever, at the same time every day, the business opens, The workers grab the stock, leaves, the truck leaves, they organize, stock it, sell it, whatever you want. So they take what they need in one shot, and then after they start working on the actual business. Imagine a business where every 2 hours, 45 minutes, two trucks arrive. It's like they're unloading all day. All your workers, they don't have time to man the desks. They don't have time to do anything. They're just constantly going to the loading dock to get more material. Don't do that. Do not eat all throughout the day. Eat for the day, and then after fast until the next feeding. That's the way you're supposed to be doing this. You're also you have to understand when with just a 24-hour fast, okay, you'll get 2 additional growth hormone spikes, okay, and this is very beneficial, especially if you're weight training. What you can do is you train fasted, right? Then after you've gotten some growth hormone injections that other people don't get because they're eating all throughout the day. Then after, you can modify your ketogenic diet because you're an athlete and you want to, so you eat a carbohydrate meal knowing that it's going to go where? In our storage, in the glycogen. We just used our muscle. We eat the glucose. That just boosts up our storage. When you're doing a ketogenic diet, you do, okay, create with gluconeogenesis, and you do produce the glucose, and it does go in storage, but it's not as quick, right? Don't forget also that insulin is the signal opening the door. So there is a benefit to get all of your nutrients after you train. Even if you're mixing at that point, you exerted, strength training, you can have fat, protein, carbohydrates, that one huge meal, replace that glycogen, and then return to a fasted state, go back to the gym, train fasted. You had additional growth hormone spikes again every day, twice as much, boom, boom. Well, not twice. There's a large spike in growth hormone early when you go to bed, let's say 8, and then before you wake up, at dawn, just before, there's another growth hormone spike. That's what happens usually. And then when you're doing 24 hours and eating, you have not eaten less. You have just packed it all in one shot. And if you're eating protein and fat, it's very easy to get a high amount of calories with a small amount of mass, because fat is very calorie dense. Guys, don't forget your fat soluble vitamins. Vitamin D, animal food, cholesterol. You got to get the cholesterol. You gym guys, you need fat and cholesterol. Okay, and you need the vitamins that are fat soluble, and all of this is animal food. You're not getting vitamin D3. You get that in animal food. You're not getting cholesterol. You're getting that in animal food. You're getting the healthy and safe fats. They're not seed oils. And all of these things are required to create sex hormones, to create growth hormone. So, and your whole nervous system, your brain, the majority of your brain is literally the composition of it is fat. Every cell has a fat lining, fat, and fuel. It's not going to go in the wrong place unless you're consuming a large amount of carbohydrates with fat, and you're not doing that post-training with your 1 meal a day. That's fine if you are. Fat, cholesterol, fat, protein, carbs, you name it. If you're doing 1 meal a day and you've weight trained, add those carbs in there, and you're going to get the maximum. You're gonna get an insulin spike. That is a good time to spike that bugger right up there and open up that pathway and shuttle not only glucose but nutrients and other essential things. The door is open when insulin comes and knocks. Here it says, add before your question to help Jason spot your question. Exactly. I am Heavy Jane, started on April 12th at 290 pounds and now at 265 pounds. Hey, Bruce, it's addictive, isn't it? Like once you get into it and you start seeing the results, you don't get these kind of results doing a calorie restricted, low fat, high carb diet with regular activity. The guy started April 12th, okay? This is not even a month ago, and he's lost 25 pounds. 25 pounds in a month. The majority of people will lose about, at best, 1 pound a week. That's 5 pounds a month. That's usually would take like half a year, like 4 months. Do you understand? And yes, 10 pounds, maybe 15 pounds. 15 pounds, I think probably. I don't know how much mass Bruce had under the 290, but if I have 5, maybe Bruce has more muscle than me. I don't know, but it could be up to 15 pounds, Bruce. That of your 25 pounds, 15 is possibly water. 10, 15, 100%, 5 to 10. But the rest is real fat. It's fat. That's awesome. And I want you guys to understand that, think of it this way. 1 pound of butter, you know, the butter that you get like just in an envelope, it's like a rectangle, you know, that's usually 1 pound. So I remember when I did a fast, I said, I lost 5 pounds. So I grabbed 5 bricks of butter and I said, that's what my body ate. My body butter. That's gross, eh? But it's so that people can understand, like, hey guys, that's 5 pounds. What? Yeah, these 5 freaking bricks of butter. Weigh that. Your body, because you fasted, went through that many bricks of butter, but your body butter, your adipose tissue. Thanks so much. Yeah. Okay, this is interesting, Bruce. I would love to have. I mean, I don't think you're going to want to talk too much, maybe about your diet on your astronomy channel, but I'd love to like have you on, you know, on my keto Mondays, even if it's just for a quick 10-15 minute. We can once in a while, like if you have a lot of stuff to say, and we could do 1 hour where we're not doing in that episode necessarily information, but I'm talking and getting, you know, to know how things are going. I went from pizza, fries, cake to water and healthy. Yeah. You 100% need a lot of healing, man. All that crap, man. Dude, when you look at the side of those boxes, it's all like wheat, soy, grains, tons of sugars, preservatives, and seed oils. Those seed oils are in all the things, right down to brown bread. You'll see vegetable, soybean, or canola. Those are the 3 big ones. And so all you were doing was consuming all of these as if you're like chomping on tons of seeds, and that's the fat you're getting it from. You're getting it from a bunch of like seeds. We never did that. So you're going to do a tremendous amount of healing, and please make sure to avoid all of these bottled oils, and always look. There's a video that I did, which was in a shopping center. It's one of the ones down about omega-6, and I go shopping and I just show you all the labels, and it's like canola, 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 canola. It's just everything is canola, to the point that 10% of the calories that the population on average consumes in the West is just these man-made, industrialized, solvent-based seed oils that are rancid, oxidized, and highly inflammatory because we've never been able to consume so much omega-6. It's like you took like a freaking acre, maybe a couple of acres of soybean, and you put them in a big vat, poured like isoproterenol alcohol or some kind of like solvent, pour that in there, and then after you pressurize it, you close it, you shake it around, you extract it, and then all that solvent you got to heat to evaporate it, and you get that bottom leftover, and it doesn't even look like oil. It's like fatty grease. It looks like grease, and they refine and process this, and they make it look nice and clear. If you smell soybean canola, like there's no smell, there's literally no taste, and there are actually a lot of corporations now are sneaking it into things like olive oil as well. Buffering. When I went keto, a small square of dark chocolate helped me feel undeprived. Well, yeah, well, if it's dark chocolate, there's no problem. Hey, new guy, new lady, Hoppy. I'll call you Hope Happinson. All right, welcome. First time coming, I think. Jane, I believe you. Same when I eat an egg and almost choke. All right. Anything else, guys? Hi, at Jason, new sub. Nice to meet you. I'll help share you out. Well, thank you very much. Let me know how you found my channel. We do all sorts of topics, but we'll definitely keep Monday for consistently ketogenic or nutrition and diet and things like that. Definitely, though, we want to get through all the keto before I go on to just various healthy omnivorous diets, going through Weston A. Price and such things. Hey, man. Yeah, saying hey, man is toxic masculinity. It's highly sexist. It shows that you are brainwashed by the patriarchy. That was like ninja level sarcasm, by the way. Yes, let's get Jason's name out there. It's good information. Well, thank you. Yeah, I did this channel 4 or 5 years ago, and I only made it to 200 and some. I had a big boost because I went on Bruce Cezal's channel. He's my brother, and he's in the chat. He helped bump it about 150, a good 150 subs. Jason is honestly really saying some great info for keto fasting and dieting. Man, I'm happy that you're interested, because I was like, I don't think Bruce watches like my channel like years ago for the diet and stuff, but it had such a profound change in health for me, and weight and relationship in general with food, that I felt like it was like a hidden secret, and I was screaming like, like a crazy guy in the corners, ketogenic diet, let it heal you. And so I was so fed up of manically discussing and repeating myself, I decided to make the YouTube channel. So this channel actually was initially called Fast Keto Prime. Then I called it Age of Deception, but it was virtually unable to find my channel because Age of Deception is such a big word. So I was drowned out. So I just called myself Jason John Swartz. That's my name. And my channel will be focused regularly on diet, but I do a wide variety. I also collaborate tremendously with Garland Farms YouTube channel, JD from Garland Farms. So is it Hope or Hap? Hope is in. I'm going to call you Hope. Let me know if that's okay. So yeah, Hope, I also suggest that you go see Garland Farms channel, JD, and in almost the majority of my live streams, JD is there. He's very outspoken against veganism, and he is a ruminant animal regenerative farmer that does grass-fed ruminant and grazing practices that are regenerative to the soil. And he lives out in Texas. He has studied in kinesiology, and he for a period of time was a consultant or a dietitian, I guess, doing programs for, a variety of professional athletes, right up, I believe, to the NFL. So JD talks a lot about nutrition. He also has a background in biology. So we talk a lot against veganism, and there's a reason why, because it is a huge deception, and as well as very dangerous long term. And it's worrisome because that agenda is being pushed. I am a Christian. I often sometimes get into the mood about talking about my faith. I look at a wide variety of things. I'm into the evolution versus intelligent design. Everything and anything I'm open to. So thanks for coming to my channel. I hope you look at some of the content that's already published. And please go see Bruce Sees All, as well as Garland Farms channel. So question, Alzheimer's. Wouldn't high-fat keto diet be adequate versus fasting? Just thinking about elderly having low muscle mass. Good point about the low muscle mass. As you age, your body becomes less and less efficient at using protein. So there is a danger of muscle wasting or sarcopenia. Yes, I agree. But what I'm saying is, if you have Alzheimer's, right, you're going to lose your mind. So the one priority, because if you don't deal with the Alzheimer's, if you don't somehow try this as a last ditch effort, a miracle, because it does make sense, like why it could possibly work, knowing autophagy and understanding insulin resistance, glycated beta amyloid, such things as this. I know that it's very, very highly plausible that it could work because they are producing medication for pathway. All right. So yes, sarcopenia, but even if I was a frail person, I would still be doing very large amounts of fasting, and I would be eating protein and fat as refeeds, but I could also fat fast. You could fat fast as well if you're not providing protein or carbohydrates. You know how you're in a fasted state, you do have fats and ketones flowing through your blood. So as far as the body is concerned, oh, I'm in a fasted state. If you're doing what they call fat fast, meaning I will fast, but anytime I am hungry, I will eat a pure fat. That makes you feel like you cheated, and then you continue your fast. Because the only thing is ketones and fat in your body when you're fasted, then when you eat only fat, then that enters your bloodstream. And what's the difference? It's still the same. So that's why it's fast mimicking. So you can do a lot of prolonged fasts, but every once in a while, if you're trying to reverse Alzheimer's, what I would do would be tremendous fast and large amounts of animal fat for refeeding, doing the calculation. But look, if you don't cure the Alzheimer's, then there's actually no point in living. You're not there anymore. There's no quality of life. So priority, test the hypothesis. I'm going to fast the crap out of it, because you need, the only chance in hell that the beta amyloids would get eaten is prolonged fast, like deep autophagy, because the body will go after cells that are not correct. DNA, think of it, DNA is a coded language of 3.2 million letters. It is coded information. And not only is this a genetic code, but it is as well, it is folded in on each other. Now, when you look at things where you say, oh, look at this DNA here and look at that here. See, there's no purpose to it. It's junk DNA, but that's not necessarily true. The DNA, there can be A, G, C's, and T's that are part of the infrastructure on which the information can be laid. And when the DNA is folded into a three-dimensional object, then things that a G over here that could have been really far and a T over there that could be really far, where you look at it and you're not taking into consideration the three-dimensional function of DNA, then you can have very far nucleotides. And what happens is as they start folding, they come and they end up being side by side as they're folded, the DNA. So it's a lot more, it's mind-blowing. We could look at any binary system on the computer and count how many zeros and ones there are for the nowhere near 3.2 million letters. And this is not a binary system. And not only that, is that it's a three-dimensional as well. Insane, amazing. Why the hell did I get on that topic? I do not remember. But what I said is true and accurate. We're talking about, I'm not getting it, not going on that tangent. Shut up, Jason. Laugh out loud, I'm on an exercise bike. Yeah, exactly. Now, remember I was saying a modified ketogenic diet, right? So that's for athletes that want to make sure that they're replenishing their glycogen stores, things like that. Give me 1 second. I hope I'm sorry. Am I there? Okay, sorry guys. It started spinning. I don't know if it's spinning on your side. Lost my train of thought. I lost so much weight that my spine is moving back in damn place. I ain't kidding. I am just learning about that muscle loss. Oh yeah, sorry. That's what I wanted to say because Bruce was talking about being on the bike. When I was doing the ketogenic diet, I was trying to do maximum weight loss. So I would do it on purpose when I was fasted. On top of it, I was doing the ketogenic diet, this low carb. I was jogging 5 kilometers. Would take me about 25 minutes, 5 kilometers. But there is some hills too. And I do that maybe 3 times a week, fasted, and in strict ketogenic diet. I was doing that because I said to myself, haha, I'm not using carbohydrates, so the body can't use that fuel. I'm not eating at all, so there's no fat coming in, right? And then after my body has no choice but to supply it, great. Now I'm going to go do exercise. Deal with it, boy. So doing exercise obviously increases the weight loss. I was doing that not because I was competitive. I was doing that strategically during my weight loss to do everything possible to facilitate my body's access to my body butter. That's what I call adipose tissue. Did I answer Jane's question about fasting? But yeah, again, Jane, very good point. You do have to take into consideration, for example, my wife with her health issues on the very skinny side, underweight even to not a drastic extent. Would she benefit from fasting days? Well, there could be some health benefits with the healing process, but like you're underweight. Like this can't be a normal practice for you. You're going to lose a lot of muscle in a way if you're overdoing, because now you don't have that much fat and you're fasting. Yes, I'm not saying it'll eat everything, but it's gonna use autophagy. It's gonna recycle proteins and dead cells into amino acids and restructure and send out. It's to a certain extent, but yeah, you're too skinny and you are at danger of losing muscle in that fashion. But if you have fat to burn, and to be honest, I forget what the calculation, but if you go by 3.5, what is it? The 3,500 calories for 1 pound, let's say. Okay. And then after 10% body fat, they still have 5 pounds of fat somewhere, right? So if they have, even if they're cut, but it's like, yeah, technically there is like 5 pounds there somewhere, but there's 5 pounds. They're not going to die. So 3,500 times 5. So even somebody with just 5 pounds of fat, right? They have 17,500 calories stored, and the average, right? You still have 8.75 days worth of calories before your body even thinks about using now your organs and such things. Yeah. I've lost, yeah, I'm just learning, Bruce says, about that muscle loss experience, that when I lost 100 pounds, yeah, I remember that. That's what we had mentioned. I was like, yeah, you lost a lot of weight. But because my brother has always had very big muscle here, me and my brother have like this, it'd be like pretty big, and it's like, no, you want to lose all that weight so that it starts showing your muscle. But he lost, and he was refeeding with sugar. So what's that do? It's like, sugar enters, spikes the insulin for a moment. Cells are using a bit of glucose. You're so depleted. A couple of spoonfuls of sugar is not enough to even start resupplying your muscle glycogen, or even to a certain extent your liver. It's a question from Jane. If they keep this video up, Jason will be lucky, because we can't talk about anything now here. This was packed with info. Ain't just saying that. Thank you. I appreciate it. We're going to stop very soon. Yes, there. Hey, Werecat, does vegan keto exist? Yeah, you could technically, but think of it this way, right? So to get low carb, now you're basically almost doing just raw vegetables or cooked vegetables. So now you're not eating a lot of fruits, because there's fructose and glucose and things like that you can't do keto the way vegans eat such a high amount of fruits. You can't go after too much starchy stuff, rice, grains. Can't really grab much of that. I mean, technically doing the 20 grams, right? So what are they left with? Well, now they can eat stuff like soy, and they can eat these alternatives. But what kind of fat are they going to supply? I guess coconut fat they can do. And they'll if they're ignorant, they'll go after a lot of the seed oils, thinking the vegetable oil is better than animal fat. So they will not be able to meet their protein needs, because most of their protein that they get is attached with a high amount of carbohydrates. So you're limited to like tofu-ish almost. Certain beans and processed bean alternative, protein, things like that. But where's your fat soluble vitamins? They're going to be deficient in fat soluble. So I've seen it if you look vegan keto, but no, it will, I think it's even the worse than a normal vegan diet, because like, where are your fats? You're going to be eating just avocados. I don't know. I looked at all the food and boxes of shit that I usually eat all month, and I am blown away. Everything I are this month fits in a child's lunchbox. I know. Yes, hi, we're Cat 2. Welcome to our small little family. Hope to see you more often. And on some of the streams, I do let our regular viewers come on, and we can just chat face to face. You can come on as well and turn your camera off. Some people just don't want to see, they're shy. So you can come on, it'll just be your voice. In the day cigarettes were cool, laugh out loud. The ads made them look smart because they were smoking. Yeah, cool. And prior to that, they even had like ads. What, maybe was it the 40s or 50s? Maybe these old ads where it says like, doctors recommend this brand. This is the #1 recommended brand by doctors for cigarettes. Keto flu. Yeah. Wow, sounds bad. Oh, I got a Charlie horse in my stomach. Thought there was a bit. Yeah. So Bruce, if possible, the only way that you can get magnesium sufficiently is almonds. If you're trying to get it with, there's other stuff, you can Google it, but almonds jump to my mind about magnesium. But you should take maybe a magnesium sulfate supplement, and do take salt. Salt's important. You can't go days just drinking water or something and not having a certain amount of salt, because you'll start feeling dizzy, and no, it's not good. You'll get hyponatremia, which is low sodium. Gandhi used to evaporate the ocean, the sea salt, and he used to eat that during his fast. What? Too much fat, been shitting oil for 3 days, headaches, to brain fog, to got all that. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so if you're shitting oil, you don't need that much fat. Don't forget, you don't need to go crazy on the fat, because you're trying to not supply all the fat for the day by food. You want to access your fat storage. If you look at the presentations, headaches, brain fogs, these are all part of keto adaptation. Taking salt, magnesium, even a bit of potassium is all you really need. If you want to remain in ketosis, if you're having trouble, if it's tough and you just want to ease more into it, you can have some nuts and stuff. Don't go overboard, but like I said, the almonds, it has some salt, has magnesium, has a little bit of carbohydrates, and maybe that's that drastic amount. So don't forget to refeed with the proteins and fat. Don't forget to use salt. You might want to take salt, potassium, as well as magnesium. Charlie horse is magnesium sulfate you need. And it's like, you can have a few fruits there. Like, it's not the end of the world there. If your only sugar source is fruits there, and you find that it's like, this keto flu is pretty intense, have some grapes, a couple, eat 3-4 grapes, sit down, wait 15 minutes, see, well, yeah, I'm good now. I will record this stream to show Jason I am blocked now. Why the hell is it? I am not eating 3 days, and I eat 2 eggs after that time. All right, well, eat 12. Wow, dude, I am literally crapping my fart. Laugh out. Yeah, it says never trust a keto fart. But if you are shitting and just like oily stuff, don't need that much fat. I had 1 day of headaches and I was fine. After 3 watching, I'm watching. Hey, GD, what up, dude? Hey, buddy, eating healthy now. My friend, Garland Farms, how are you? Just finished a 3-day fast, doing better than, well, Monday will be here, guys. I'm good, Bruce. Congrats on your autophagy session. Yeah. Please, everybody, Garland Farms. I know my stuff, but I hang around with JD It's not just because he's good looking and I find him cute. It's because he knows a little bit more, and I'm learning a lot. And we're both very passionate about our hatred for veganism. So he's been a good friend, and I love the live streams that we do together. I also love it when my brother comes on. We got to do a live stream where Bruce, Garland Farms, and me jump on. Maybe we could do that next Monday. We can talk together and figure that out. It would be close to about 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to have to stop. I just want to get through the rest of the comments, and we're going to end here, guys. Okay. I feel great, man. I'll just read it. Bruce, FYI, plants have oils, animals have fats. True. Wrong. That happened when I was poor, waiting for groceries left a long time ago. Right on, Garland. Learning all this fast. Yeah. Oils are good for industrial purposes. Lubricants, machines, fats are good for human nutrition. Well said, JD. Bruce says that I lost 100 pounds eating in the morning, walking all day, eating next morning, lost 100 pounds at 20 years old. Yeah. Now just tweak it and just know that you're built of protein and fat, and that those are essential, and that during a weight loss phase, there's nothing wrong with doing a ketogenic diet to get that fat storage depleted as soon as possible, as well as incorporating intermittent fasting, as well as some prolonged fasting, but also not becoming too extreme, and do have, a couple of periods of refeeding those proteins and fats from animals, and go from there. Have a few berries. Nothing wrong with having almonds when you're refeeding. Nothing wrong with having vegetables either. I'm sure after a fast, nothing wrong with having starches either. It's all just understanding, like, why am I doing this? Does it make sense? I'm doing this because I want this to happen and I want to encourage that. Okay, it makes sense. That's why I'm doing it. Are you going to be doing that all your life? No, because situations change. I bet not many people know about fat and how to lose. I ate 6 spoonfuls after 3 days and had enough. Incredible. I know. That's what I'm saying. There's a guy named Butter Bob, another guy that is there. I think it might be a book or it's on YouTube. Bacon made my pants fall off. These guys, one of them only ate butter and the other one only ate bacon, and they were this big, and they're like inside their pants, and they're like, bacon made my pants fall off. Now, you don't have to be extreme and just stick to butter or bacon, especially, tons of bacon with nitrates, unless it's natural. Anyways, protein, fat. Hey, by Monday, wow, I will be in the 150s. I'm really excited for you, Bruce. This is awesome, man. It's been a lot, because it's been a long time. You notice I never pushed you, and I was like, even my mom, when I started, I was like, Mom, I'm not saying oh my God, you look horrible. I don't, you're fat. I was like, no, it's for your health. You will lose weight, but you're also avoiding foods that will make you sick, and you are eating what we truly are supposed to eat. The majority is animal-based nutrition. What are the best foods to help muscle development? Animal proteins, animal fats, as well as carbohydrates from vegetables, if you like, starchy vegetables, rice, some white rice. JD mentioned, just a boiled potato. JD also made a good point that I don't know if I could afford just using always distilled water, but distilled water, if you boil distilled water, let's say you put potatoes or any of these plant agriculture stuff that are saturated with pesticides, insecticides, and various toxins, to suck out these things, is better to use distilled water when you're boiling your potato, kind of thing. Bruce literally says, I have healed my eye. Now, I didn't even know that, because scrolling up, I was like, Bruce, I bet you It's going to improve your eye. All of that mucus that was like always like getting produced in your eye, your body will go after during fasting, and if it's some kind of organism like an infection, your body's going to eat those bacteria. They're alive, they're calories, and it's extremely healing. When you're sick, you're supposed to fast. That's why when you're sick, you lose your appetite. Your body's like, I need to fast. Stop deciding what I'm going to do. Shut your mouth, stop eating, and let the body do what it knows it's supposed to do. But every time you shove too much food over and over, you're not allowing your body to do what it knows it needs to do, because you keep on saying, no, I want you to take this in and load it. And then it's like, okay, thanks. I don't really need this. There's not even any room here. And then starts doing important function, important works, healing. And then all of a sudden it knocks again. They're like, yeah, there's a package. Going back and forth. This is what they have told us. These are the nutritionists, the universities. Now you know why I'm skeptical about universities. What are the best foods to help muscle development? The best foods to help muscle development is the beast, feast, fast. That's what I would say is you train, you have to put some kind of stimulus, and then after you eat protein, fat, as well as carbohydrates and animal protein and animal fat, and you have some rice or a potato or something like that to strategically replenish your glycogen. And don't forget that, for me, I don't know, JD might be more positive in knowing if this is true, but if I'm training and my muscle is still sore and I'm trying to get maximum like hypertrophy, growth, I don't train that muscle again until I don't feel sore. And then right away, oh, I'm not sore again. I go again and I go again. So even if you want to follow a carbohydrate diet, you want to, for some reason, you want to continue a carbohydrate, a keto diet, but you want to build muscle. What I would say is, okay, do your keto thing, but make it a modified keto and replenish after with a very large meal. Maybe you can have 2 meals if you want to, stretch it to a window of 4. And there's a time, and start slow. You don't know how many grams you need to replenish. So you'll have the next day all that sugar stored. And then after you go again, but you do that fasted. You're more awake and alert when you're fasted. Do not go eat before you go to the gym. When you eat, you're activating the rest and the digest. Okay, that is the parasympathetic system. There's 2 systems: parasympathetic, calming, rest and digest, and you have the sympathetic, which is fight, flight, action. Okay, and they work in tandem. When you eat, okay, you are activating the rest and digest. So you don't want the rest and digest to happen in the middle of your workout. You want to train fasted, where you're alert. The sympathetic nervous system is secreting adrenaline and such things. You're alert. You're quick. When you're hungry, do you go to bed? People always say, I went to bed starving. Yeah, exactly. So you have trouble sleeping because you're more alert, because your body is saying, I want food. So you're not going to fall asleep. But if you have a meal, you will. A lot of people, they get tired. They want to take a nap, especially if they load themselves with large amount of carbs. So that's the best food. That's crazy that Bruce's eye is healed. And I knew it. I mean, Bruce, go see my older videos from 4 years ago, autophagy. We'll talk about it next video. The autophagy one is about prolonged fasting and how it heals. You have like Plato and stuff like that. I don't agree with a lot of things that Plato said, but he was right about the fasting. No, I'm going to finish this in 5 minutes because I just want to get through the comments. All right, Rose in the house. Hey, Rose. Hope some more folks show up. It's interesting to learn for me. I'm on opposite sides of this subject. Can't again. That's fine. My channel is dead. I even shared this link. I am losing at least 11 pounds a week. Yeah. All the ice cream and cake want, but it's not very healthy. I wish I had a diet channel. Talk about my ass getting small. I would be great. I mean, Bruce sees all. I mean, now you see all the deception about nutrition. So it doesn't mean you can't add Bruce sees all. My weight loss journey. This is about astronomy and all the stuff that your people are there for, but it's also about you, and you have a large fan base, and I'm sure they would want to go on that journey with you as well. So I don't see that you would need to open up another channel at all. I think that it would be super interesting for your fan base. You could do it on an opposite day, a one day. It's an easy stream that you don't have to prepare because you're just talking about your experience. So it's a lot less work, and it's an extra stream during your week, and it lets your fan base feel that it's a little bit more deeper and richer, and because it's going to be obvious. It's going to be obvious as the days and weeks go by on your channel that you're going to be leaning out. So benefit it. You might be able to pull in additional viewers that are there actually more interested about that aspect, and then they fall into interest about astronomy. So don't start a new channel, but please spread the word. You're going to be so amazed, Bruce. That's why I started the channel, because I wanted to scream it out, because I saw everybody getting deceived and sick, and not being like lazy, on fat, on discipline. No, man, these people are like trying to lose weight, but they're being lied to. They're like high carbs, less calorie, move more. Oh, if you don't eat every 3 hours, your metabolism is going to go down. Actually, it's frustrating. Even doctors don't have much advice. Yes, HDL2, learned about the hormones. My sciatica nerve fixed. No more back. Well, as you lose weight, it's going to be extremely beneficial to any of back and nerves, and pinched nerves and narrowed spines. And yeah, that's why I'm happy my mom needed surgery, and she had lost, I think, 40 pounds. And I was like, it was spine surgery of all things. She fell on her butt. And thank goodness she had lost 40 pounds. She healed extremely fast. She had other things in it, kidney infection, but the surgery, she healed very well. It was really weird. The surgeon told her to eat a lot of cantaloupes. I was like, Mom, you had spine surgery. You are not eating a lot of cantaloupes. I don't know why the hell that doctor said that specifically for spine surgery, you may benefit from eating cantaloupe. Whatever. 4 years ago, Bruce, you could have been doing this if you had watched my videos. It's never too late, man. Vegans have moved the goalposts. It's no longer about not harming animals. It's about not exploiting animals. This gives them green light to kill and torture wild animals with reckless abandon. Yes, if you guys are interested, like I said, go see Garland Farms. He's a farmer. He knows the truth about agriculture, plant, as well as ruminant animals, livestock. He knows a lot about the climate effect of the livestock industry, all of these things. Me and JD, if you go to my live streams, have had hours and hours of discussion about every facet, or we will get through every slight facet of breaking down the deception of veganism. We'll be there. I also talk on my channel about it. fuck, who doesn't want me to talk about it on my channel? I am proud of what I'm doing. I'm proud of it to you too, man. Intense training, man. I exercise, walk. Oh, Bruce, I am overjoyed. Never do we see a big guy like me rock it like I'm doing. I am a machine now. No, you are like most people that start the ketogenic diet. I'm telling you, for some people, it is life changing, and it was for me. And I think that it will be for you. We have to get together online another day. Fasting spikes growth hormone, and there's plenty of protein available for a certain amount of time due to autophagy. Did you know that humans didn't invent recycling, right? Our body, okay, is has a recycling system. I'm not, I'd have to brush up, but I think it's the lysosome. It's kind of like having a barn out in the back or something, or shed, okay? And the shed, it's getting old. You've added wood, tried to fix things. Now it needs to be dismantled. Are you going to throw away every single piece of that shed? No. People always reuse stuff, and this is crap, and the structure is crap, but you always reuse stuff, and that's what the body can do. The body can take cells that just died, bacteria, all sorts of stuff, and create exactly the proteins that the body requires. Like, that's crazy. It's like they're ordering online on Amazon. They're like, we need this protein, and could you produce some enzymes, have that out by Tuesday, kind of thing. What does that mean? Yeah, she's probably talking about autophagy, JD. We can do on the Monday a autophagy discussion as well. All these good. Rose, thanks so much. We are so grateful for. Yeah, yeah. So and I said that before, Darla. I said that's why I was saying train fasted, because you feast after you train, and then after you remain fasted, because you get, remember those growth hormone spikes. Guys in gyms inject testosterone, but they also will use and abuse growth hormone, because that hormone, among beyond just making things grow, but one of the things it is beneficial for muscle synthesis. Okay, I think we're almost there, guys. When insulin goes up, growth hormone goes down. When insulin goes down, growth hormone goes up. Decreased growth hormone is associated with accelerated aging rates. There you go. And probably a large part of, I guess, JD, the sarcopenia too, that adults. Mortality, he's right. There's studies like the higher, the less muscle. When you start losing muscle mass, your mortality increases. Sarcopenia, not good. So telling people that they should go plant-based when they're elderly, no, they need higher cholesterol, because it shows that people with higher cholesterol in the elderly have lower mortality. So they should be eating more fat and more protein as they age, because you need more protein because your body's just not good at using it as much anymore. So do you really want to have the most digestible protein, animal food, or do you want plant protein that has missing amino acids, that's not necessarily complete? That, which one do you want when you're older? Because you're not good at using protein, so you're going to take the one that's less digestible. Yeah, that's going to be really good for the elderly. Yes, you can brag all you want, bro. I gotta go. Yeah, I gotta go too there. You guys talk too much. You guys have a big mouth. All right, guys. Just looking through. Beef liver provides okay, well that's good, JD, because I was talking about magnesium, especially during overall. Yeah, beef liver has magnesium as well as vitamin C, right, JD? So yeah, if you can get liver, then that'll prevent or help reduce those Charlie horses that you might get at the start of a ketogenic diet. I had 2 days of problems with headache. I'm good now. This is easy as hell. I will be thinner than you in a month. Watch me. Fart, autocorrect them. Yeah. Never trust a keto fart. I am not going to eat food again. Okay, see that's where you don't want to become a fanatic, right? You want to go up the bell curve, and when it starts flattening out, you want to stop it and refeed. And then you get the benefit. That's what you want to do. You don't want to keep on doing the same thing. You want to mix it up. You want to keep your body guessing. Hey, all of a sudden, like I had a lot of almonds and fruits over here, and it's like, pop myself out of a ketosis there. You just go. Some days you eat like 3 meals. Other days you skip 2 days. You just keep on going, and you trust your hunger. My brother's going to buy his Gandhi robe. Yeah, exactly. When you do your the day that you're doing your diet, you just get dressed up. Thank you very much. I just ate 2 bowls of goat stew that I canned 1 year ago. Canning meat meals. Yeah, JD, you got to come and explain how you do that, canning meat. Be careful, Bruce. The more weight you lose, the easier it is for the aliens to beam you up. They may probe your colon for science. Yeah, that's true. Oh shit, Garland. Yeah, man, my eyes are getting, or even getting younger looking. Do you remember, Bruce, my channel I used to do before and afters? I had a picture of my license, then I happened to have needed a new picture, and my 5-year older picture looked way younger. So I literally looked like, okay, I'll say 5 years younger, but I felt like at the start that I literally looked like 10 years younger. But definitely younger. A lot of people are surprised that I am 44. 43, 44 in July. All right, guys, you are doing great at all you set out to do. All right, thanks a lot for showing up to the Monday keto stream. There's more to come. This was a long one again. I wanted 1 hour. Might take longer, but maybe let's try and limit it to an hour and a half. Let's not go over because it's a lot of time away from me spending time with my wife, because this is where we put the baby to bed, and then I don't want to waste hours. All right, I'm going to shut up. Thanks a lot. Post questions and comments down below once this stream ends, because I can answer that in the next video. Thanks a lot. God bless. Love you all. See ya.